morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory Online Summit. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia, and this is day 4 of our 31-day marathon. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce our chairperson for the day, Manuela Garcia. Welcome back to the platform.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Hello to everybody. Tell everybody where you are, and we'll just go around the room. Ruth, you can introduce yourself as well.
Welcome and good morning. So yes, my name is Manuela. I am originally from Spain, but I lived in beautiful New Zealand for the last 15 years. I am a mindset, health coach, and also transformational coach. And mostly I work with women who want to create a new life they love after divorce or separation. So that's me. It's a pleasure to be here with you and this beautiful group of ladies. So thank you, Gertrude.
Wonderful. Ruth Lenwani, then Wadzanai, please introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ruth Lenwani. I am joining you from Harare in Zimbabwe, in the motherland, Africa. Welcome to our day 4. We're on the 4th day. Yes.
Awesome. My beautiful sister Wadzanai, lovely to see you again. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody where you are.
Hi, everyone. It's fantastic to see you again. I am in Rome, in Italy, and this is the 3rd time I'm participating.
Yes.
So this is really fantastic to be here again.
Wonderful to have you back. So before we start, I am going to start off with an acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. As the Herstory movement, we pay respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I am so excited that today we are handing over the reins to our beautiful sister. But before we do that, I want to share something from a phenomenal woman. Every single day, we're going to pick a woman who inspires us, either share a poem or a quote or something they have left down as footprints for us to follow. Yeah. So this is a poem by Maya Angelou, and I think you all know the poem Phenomenal Woman. Pretty women wonder where my secrets lie. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, in the span of my hips, in the stride of my step, in the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. I walk into a room as cool as you please. And to a man, the fellows stand or fall on their knees. Then they swarm around me like a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes. It's the flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist, the joy in my feet. I am woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breasts, the grace of my smile. I am woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. So that's my tribute for the day. And with that, I hand over to our beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Manuela to take
Thank you,
over
Herstory.
and introduce our first guest. So Ruth, has Manuela got the bio?
Oops, no. I have to read. I'll read what this bio.
Can you read what's his bio and give her the next one?
Okay.
I have something that I would love I would love to make a quick comment about that poem. I think it's just such a beautiful reminder to all of us as women, and to empower our souls and to live our truth, because we forget that. And bless me, like my daughter is 17 at the moment. But when you take a look around at society, we as women, we should embrace and love who we are, with our, as we are, as our individuality, and we forget that. So that was a beautiful poem. Absolutely.
I love that poem. Thank you, Manuela.
Yes.
Okay, Miss Ruth.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you beautifully.
Awesome. So I have the pleasure of introducing one of our sisters who has been scattered by the African tree. The African trees just scatters their seeds all over the world. Our beautiful sister was Garwe, who is currently in Rome, Italy. She's a mother of two. She's an HIV and mental health activist, an author, and a firm believer in the power of economic empowerment. Her passion is taking action to ensure that developing countries, Africa in particular, find appropriate and innovative solutions to combat poverty, debt, poor governance, and disease. She has been a development practitioner for over 30 years, living and working with refugees, internally displaced persons, and the rural and urban poor. She has amassed a wealth of experience in the management of multi-sectorial projects, team leadership, financial analysis, rights-based approaches to development, women and gender, and a multitude of other development initiatives. She's a podcaster and co-facilitator on a platform called African Conversations with Self that helps Africans navigate their post-colonial spaces and trauma. She speaks on different subjects, and tonight she is going to speak on domestic abuse, I think. Yes, Wadzi?
That's correct.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, everybody. And I wanted to speak about domestic violence today because I was having a chat with a group of women who I used to go to school with. And one of the issues they were chatting about was domestic violence. And it's one of the issues. And then I think last night, we were talking about this lady who discovered that her husband had cheated on her. And so she chose to kill the two children that she had and herself because she was in such pain. So I just wanted us to talk about this because it's one of the things that brings a lot of shame and blame. I was a I am a domestic violence survivor. And I say this as a woman who is so accomplished. You heard my introduction. Ruth kindly, talked about who I am as a professional woman, who I am as a mother. I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I'm a niece, I'm a daughter, I'm several things. And yet, with all this phenomenal stuff, I am a domestic violence survivor. And you say to yourself, how can a person who is so in charge of her professional life, going out, leading teams, doing all this, how is it possible that she succumbed to domestic abuse? And one of the things that we don't understand about it is that firstly, it's very insidious. It creeps up on you. Secondly, it's not just about physical violence. So a lot of people think, oh, if you're beaten up, then you're a domestic violence survivor. No, there's a lot of ways in which domestic violence happens, and a lot of it. I just need to read something. I'm trying to open my phone where I had written it down. So a lot of the way that it happens is quite interesting, because there's a lot of something called coercive control. And coercive control is um, is kind of like the person, and this can happen to both men and women. So I'm going to talk from my position because I'm a woman and because it happened to me, but it happens to men as well. And coercive control is the fact that somebody who is manipulative, somebody who will love bomb you. So love bombing means this person will come on very strong at the beginning of your relationship. This person will appear to be everything that is your partner, like your soulmate. Like if you say, I love ABCD, this person will also love ABCD. If you say, you're in love with cats, or you're doing this, when they are dating you, if you find that everything that's being said by this person is so similar, or you're so in tune, and you talk every day. I mean, I used to talk to my ex every single day when we started dating. It would be like I couldn't go a day without him calling. I had so much attention, and you just get so used. It's almost like a drug. It's addictive. So you get addicted to the love bombing. You get addicted to this person who appears to be everything you're looking for. And at the time I was 28, so I wasn't a young girl. I wasn't a person whom you would think would be kind of bamboozled or led by this. I really was a person who'd been working for, I would say, I finished school at 22, so maybe 4 or 5 years. I had my own income. I was still living at home. So I was not a person that you could say, oh, Wadzi, you were young, you were impressionable. No, I was a young professional. I'd started my career. I was working in the development space. I was making a good salary. I was on my way. So one of the things that you've got to watch out for is isolation and control. And for me, it started off as being, you're the only one that understands me. I can only speak to you. You see me, you love me. And remember that a lot of us women have this rescue mentality in us. I was the first daughter of a very strong matriarchy, a lot of women who were strong women. So when this guy is saying you're the one, right? The one, wow. I mean, come on. Oh, whose ego wouldn't be like, wow, I'm it, we didn't know we don't need anyone else in our lives. So the control, right? We need to be together. You understand me, only you get me. I don't need anybody else. Your family do not love you as much as I do. These sorts of things, they slowly become, as you get married, right? So before you're married, it's this fantastic, let's run away together, we're fantastic, we can live on an island. When you are married, when you try and say, oh, my brother has a wedding, this is, and he'll be like, do we really need to go? Slowly, you're isolated and you're controlled and you're gaslit. You're told, come on, you keep saying things like this. Why would you say that? I'm not doing that. It's not me, that I don't want us to be alone. Don't you see that these people are hurting you? I'm the only one that can provide for you, can be with you, understands you and gets you. And I've always been a very logical and rational person. So this my ex was emotional, right? He was like, he would show me, he could cry at the drop of a hat, and I was like, oh my God, it's so lovely to have an emotional man. But this was all part of the manipulation. And then of course the verbal abuse starts, and the verbal abuse can include coercion and threats and blame. Blame is used a lot. Now, one of the biggest issues for me was, I am HIV positive. This is my 30th year living with HIV, very healthy. So at this point, because I could not share it with a lot of people, and a lot of my family did not know, he would say things like, you must be cheating on you because you must be cheating on me because you're the one who's HIV positive. Because when we came into the coupling, it was a discordant couple. He was the one he was not HIV positive. I was. And so he would be like, and I worked with a lot of men. I've always been one of these people that's out there. I love hugging people. I love having a good time. And he was upset with that. He would say, why are you hugging somebody? Who is that? He would fight with guys that I knew from my childhood. I'd be like, this is my brother. We were in a disco once, and like my brother came, he hadn't seen me forever. We'd grown up together. We used to live like next door. And he comes and he's like, what's he? And he lost it, guys. He lost it. And I was like, it's my brother. Oh no, these are the sorts of things I don't like. You give your body to everybody, and you're accused of bad behavior. You're emotionally blackmailed. Everything is made to feel as if there's something wrong with you. There's also what I would call the intimate partner violence. And what is intimate partner violence? So it's stealthing. Stealthing is one of those things when he or she takes off a condom while you're having sex so that you get pregnant. I was stealth. Doing sexual acts that you do not enjoy, but being emotionally blackmailed to do them. Like, who would you do them with if you don't do them with me? Right? Or, so you want me to go elsewhere to get this because you're not prepared to do it. All sorts of. So I would just say to somebody, if the intimate partnership doesn't feel safe, is making you do things you don't want to, is putting you in an uncomfortable space, that is not love. And then, of course, a huge one is physical abuse. Now, I was only ever slapped once. And I, for me, because that was my sort of, what do you say? The area where I was like, no, this is an absolute no. You do not touch me. You do not hit me. So the day that I was slapped, I had been doing my master's thesis, and I had gone. Zimbabwe had a lot of internet. It was 2007. A lot of internet connectivity issues. Gone to a friend. He knew exactly where I was because of the coercive control. Where are you going? How long will you be there, etc. And we spent the day with me trying to send my paper as I was doing my master's and having a great time. We were laughing, we were doing everything together. And I get home and he was livid. Where have you been? There were no cell phones then. There was no sort of, I can phone, and a huge whack. My goodness. I was like, that sort of slap that takes you. I'm a big girl, guys. I am a big girl, as you can see. And to be whacked, that had never happened to me. So I went locked myself in my daughter's bedroom. He was knocking. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. You just made me so upset. How can you do that to me? That sort of thing. And my daughter started to have anxiety. She was young then. She was in primary school. And from that day, she started to have anxiety, trust issues. And but for me, that was the line, right? So you don't touch this line. I left for a while. His aunt had to come. In Zimbabwe, we have the family always intervenes. You're told, you're counseled. And then, of course, economic abuse. Now, I was the breadwinner. So I'm making the money. I am, providing for the family. He's more or less a stay-at-home dad, doing whatever. We've got stuff going, but he would always say, "Oh, you want to make money for your family. You want to look after your other family. You don't want to look after us." So the emotional abuse about the economics comes in. "Oh, you think you should wear the pants because you make the money." All of these things, just you lose yourself. I lost myself. And then, of course, the huge one, the cheating. And the cheating and blaming you for the cheating. The cheating and saying, "Oh yeah, because you're HIV positive, you've got, you must have tumors on the brain. You're losing your mind." All sorts of gaslighting. And this is not to say that he was a bad person, guys. No. Lovely person. If you met him, he is the most outgoing, wonderful person, but he's a person. He has his issues. He has, and those are his issues. This is the one thing I want to say about domestic violence. Those issues are the person's issues. You don't need to rescue anybody. If you find yourself rescuing anybody after all these things I've spoken about, the types of things that are part of the intimate partner violence or domestic violence, you need to safely get away. And I need to say safely because one of the most dangerous points for domestic violence is when you refuse to no longer agree to the terms of the perpetrator. When he is losing or she is losing control, that's when they're most violent. This is when women or men leave a union. This is the time when it's the most likely to be very serious. You could get killed, maimed, hurt, all sorts of things. So make sure that your leaving is planned, it's strategic, and it's safe. Make sure that you have resources. I had given Ruth some resources. There's a directory that's open to 195 countries where you can find domestic abuse resources. And the one thing I'm going to say to anybody who has been in it or anybody who is in it, find someone to speak to that you can trust. Talk about it, make a plan that you can safely get away, especially with your children. And your partner. So you know how much you need to strategize, what you need to do, if you need to get a burner phone that you hide, all sorts of things. These are things that you need to work on. And the one thing that I can say is you need to attend to your basic needs with compassion. What does that mean? When we are going through domestic abuse, you always think, it's me. It must be me. Why is he doing these things to me? Somebody who loves me would never do this. So I'm doing something wrong. I've got to try harder. I've got to be better. I've got to do more than I need to do. So some of the ways in which you can help yourself is first, this is not your problem. This is not your fault. If your person has anger issues, coercion issues, control issues, wants to isolate you, all the things I spoke about, please ensure that it's not about you. Yes, you might trigger it, but these are issues with that person, and stop trying to rescue them. That whole "I'm the only one that understands him" thing, nah. Get a therapist. I'm not your therapist. Go to therapy to be understood. I don't need to be that therapist. So exercise compassion with yourself. For the people who are looking from the outside in, please be a safe space, a safe, non-judgmental space. One of the worst things to be told when you're in a domestic violence situation is to be told, well, maybe you're doing something wrong, or you've got to try harder, or in my culture, they say, courage, shinga, be brave. This happens to a lot of women. He will change or she will change. No, they won't. A leopard does not change its spots unless it really wants to. So please, people, if you are somebody who is seeing this happening, allow your person to know that you are a safe space. They can download on you. They can tell you what's going on. And you are just a listening post. And also try and find them ways in which you can help them, whether it's financial. A lot of people can't leave because of financial reasons. Finding them a shelter, finding them a way to leave safely. And if you still have access to that home, you are so special, because as I spoke about, one of the things is isolation. So if you have access to this person, ensure that access doesn't go. And one of the things that I want to end with is love yourself enough to walk away. And again, safely. Love yourself enough to walk away, because love does not hurt. Love does not make you feel insane. Love does not make you jealous. A person who tries to make you jealous, a person who cheats on you, a person who does all sorts of things to you, that is not love. That is control. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's get our panel onto the screen. Mrs. Lizzie, would you like to join us? And Mimi, I think she is stuck. The device is not connecting. So Manuela, I'll let you moderate and chair.
I would love to. Wow, what a way to start our summit today. I just I couldn't. Your message, Watsani, really touched my soul in ways that very, very deeply. So thank you. I really have to commend you for sharing your story with us, and to come from a place of truth, to speak your voice and to share with us your knowledge, your own experience, which is sometimes it's not that easy to do. So many things that I took my notebook now is full of scribbles, because I felt so inspired. Like it was like, yes, it's just beautiful. And I feel just really excited, because this message needs to be shared. Sorry, could we please mute? I can hear some noise in the background. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Yes, so thank you very much. I took note about the resources that you share with us, which is so important. And then some of your tips, some of your recommendations, make sure that you're safe is so important. Attain your basic needs with compassion. How beautiful is that? That's so beautiful. And one of the ones that I loved, that it touched my soul, was love yourself enough to walk away, because love doesn't hurt. Something that I would love to ask you is, since you mentioned that you lost yourself, and I know what it's like to lose yourself and to reach that rock bottom, and to feel lonely, and to have the need to have to prove yourself, because your low self-esteem and your self-belief and the sense of isolation and control is so huge that you almost have this sense that you have to prove yourself. Of course, I'm worthy. I'll keep on doing better. I'll keep on doing things differently. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm not that worthy. Maybe. So coming from that place of losing ourselves, what would be one of your recommendations or your advice to all those beautiful ladies out there that they might feel that, yes, I feel like I've lost myself and I might be doing something wrong?
I think, Manuela, thank you so much for that feedback. The first thing is, and I always say this, as women, we are the voice in our head is our strongest critic. You know, you are the hardest on yourself than anyone else. And one of the things that I always say to women is when you hear that voice in your head, think of your best friend and what your best friend would say to you when you're going through a crisis, right? So if your best friend, if you're saying, "Oh, look, I look awful. How can I go out looking like this? I'm so lazy. He's saying this to me because I am lazy. I don't look like other women look. I'm not thin. I'm not perfect." Think of what your best friend would say to you, or your mother, who, if she was a very nurturing and loving mother, your mother would say, "You are beautiful. You are unique. You are gorgeous. You are the best that you can possibly be." Your best friend would say, "Oh, come on, Wadzi. What are you talking about? Look at what you've achieved. Look at your accomplishments." Speak to yourself as if you were your best friend. Speak to yourself as you would speak to a son or a daughter in crisis. Speak to yourself as though you are that child who needs that nurturing. And it's something that just I want us right now all together. I want to take us through a small meditation that I do when I'm spiraling. So when I'm spiraling, I want you to do this. I want you to breathe in to the count of 5. Hold your breath to the count of 6, and then breathe out to the count of 7. Okay? So when I say let's go, we breathe in to the count of 5, we hold to the count of 6, and we breathe out to the count of 7. And we're going to do it 3 times. Okay? So let's go. Breathe in. Hold. And breathe out. Okay. Breathe in to the count of 5. Hold. And breathe out. Last time. Breathe in. Hold. And breathe out. Thank you. Why I asked you to do that is that when you're spiraling, you forget to breathe. And one of the things that you need to do when you are in your head and you're losing it and you're thinking, what is it that's going on with me? Please learn to breathe in crisis. That's one of the things that will help you to start thinking again, really get back and grounded, and then start going forward again. So Manuela, those are the 2 things I would say. Speak to yourself as if you were your mother or your best friend, and breathe.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful advice. Thank you very much. And I love that meditation as well. It's something that I will continue, something that we can fit in our lives, in our daily lives. It doesn't take too long. Listening to you, something that resonated in my mind is it's really difficult at times to see ourselves. And the beautiful ladies that I work with, I invite them to go and look at themselves in the mirror. When was last time you look at yourselves? And they're like, no. Why? Look at my hair, look at my eyes. I put on weight with COVID. And when was the last time you look at yourself? Go and have a shower and come out. Oh no, I would never do that. But it's your body, and everything is there for a reason. And I came across this analogy, which I would love to share with you. The analogy of going to, finding this old mirror that is all covered in dust, right? And that does represent all those comments, all those beliefs that we grow up with, all those comments that you have explained beautifully. When we are in an abusive, controlling relationship, they accumulate day by day, and they make you believe that you are someone perhaps that you're not. Definitely you're not. And so it comes to a point that it's so difficult to see your true self, right? So my invitation to all of the ladies listening to us is to get your mirror, wipe it off, and you can do it naked or not, but just embrace and love the beautiful lady that you can see, and look into her eyes. I tell her how beautiful she is, and tell yourself, I love you, and we got this. So yeah, thank you very much.
I just want to read this poem, and it's for all people who are going through domestic abuse, if you will let me.
Absolutely, please.
It's called I Got Flowers Today. And it's one of the poems that hits you right in the gut. And I'm going to say to any woman listening to this and thinking, if I leave him, what about my children? If I leave him, what will happen? I'm going to say this to you. I had 2 children, and they say, I wish you had left earlier, Mom, because we would much rather have a happy mother than a mother who's just holding on with just the skin of her nails. So please remember that when you're thinking, I'm staying for the children. The children see everything. My children tell me stuff that I didn't even know happened. So I got flowers. We had our first argument last night, and he said a lot of cruel things that really hurt. I know he's sorry and didn't mean the things he said, because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. It wasn't our anniversary or any other special day. Last night, he threw me against a wall and started to choke me. It seemed like a nightmare. I couldn't believe it was real. I woke up this morning, sore and bruised all over. I know he must be sorry because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. And it wasn't Mother's Day or any other special day. Last night, he beat me up again. It was much worse than all the other times. If I leave him, what will I do? How will I take care of my kids? What about money? I'm afraid of him and scared to leave. But I know he must be sorry because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. Today was a very special day. It was the day of my funeral. Last night, he finally killed me. He beat me to death. If only I had gathered enough courage to leave him, I would not have gotten flowers today. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, that was a very powerful poem. Thank you so much for sharing. Do we have anyone in the panel? Any questions? So I don't think I'm pronouncing your name properly. Watsani?
Wadzi is the short version. You can call me Wadzi.
And
the name,
beautiful.
Yeah, the name is phonetic. Wadzanai. It means to
Wadzanai.
reunite. Yeah, it means to reunite or to bring together in Shona from Zimbabwe. I think Gertrude had a question.
Yes. Petra, you're muted.
Yeah, I just realized I was talking to myself. Thank you so much, Wadzi. You know, the one thing that always hits home when you speak is the reminder for women to be strategic about their actions when they decide to leave. Being prepared, having another phone, putting aside some money. Be prepared, because sometimes men do become very violent when they discover that you're leaving, or you could end up leaving with absolutely nothing. So you have to plan that exit and be very strategic about it. Thank you for always emphasizing on that.
And Gertrude, one of the things that I would say is don't trust everybody. Some of the people whom you tell, when you're going to leave, you need to trust somebody with an organization or somebody who is truly linked into the domestic violence agenda. Because sometimes the person that you're downloading on starts to think, oh, but he can't be that bad. Because remember, an abuser is only abusive to you, right? So a lot of people can't show you things like emotional abuse. You can't show. It's not a scar. It's not, it's not anything on you. A lot of people are beaten up, but they're beaten in places you can't see, right? Always watch out for women who tend to wear long, something that covers the neck when it's hot. Long sleeves are a huge indicator. Trousers. A woman who never shows you her bare arms or her bare legs. Be very, very aware of that sort of dress code, because that woman is hiding a lot of bruises. So when you're leaving, I say this, I emphasize, leave, be safe. Sometimes the only people you can speak to are maybe your kids, because the people, your best friend could be cheating with your husband, right? It happened to me, and he would know things, and I'd be like, how? These are things that I've only shared with my friends, because they were having an affair. So when we're saying be prepared, my children always say move in silence. Sometimes you have to move in silence. Nobody needs to know. Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Wadi. Wow. Great start to the morning.
There's comments on Facebook.
We've been sharing them. I think I saw Selena commenting on the breathing. I had already shared them at the bottom of the screen.
Oh,
Did I miss anything? I think that's all I could see.
Yeah. I just want to say as I end, please, everybody listening to this, I say this all the time. ABC. Attend to your basic needs with compassion. Compassion has to start with you. You have to be compassionate with yourself. Don't look to forgive other people outside. Forgive yourself first. Don't look to blame somebody else or to blame yourself. Forgive yourself and be compassionate with yourself. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to again speak at this beautiful forum. I always enjoy it. Thank you, Ruth, for reaching out as always. It's fantastic to meet you, Manuela. Gertrude, it's fantastic to see you again. Thank you so, so much.
Likewise.
Thank you, Watson.
Thank you. So just to let the ladies who are in the room to know that we won't put you on screen unless your video is on. So if you want to participate, switch on your camera, then we know you're there and engaged. And if you just want to be in the background and listen, we'll take you off screen. So who do we have next, ladies?
Sibo. Manuela, you have Sibo's...
I
Sibo
do
bio.
indeed. Absolutely, yes. So Sibo is our next speaker, our next guest, and I would love to welcome her and introduce her. Sibo Moyo is a social entrepreneur, speaker, and writer based in Melbourne, Australia. She has a background in engineering, having studied a bachelor's in industrial engineering and a master's in engineering in management. Sibo is originally from Harare in Zimbabwe, where she was born and raised. As a social entrepreneur, she founded Love Alive Foundation, which is an organization that helps orphaned and vulnerable in Zimbabwe to have access to education and opportunities. Sibo is a speaker who is passionate about telling her own story, intercultural dialogue, empowering young people, and motivating people to make a difference in their communities. As a writer, she writes regularly on her blog and is on the path to publishing her first book this year in 2022. Please give a very, very warm welcome to Sibo. Sibo, welcome.
Sorry, I think there's confusion here. I'm a different Sibo.
Are you?
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. So we're expecting Sibo. Sibo, what time are you coming?
Yeah, I'm a different.
Okay, no, Sibo's coming in at 8. Welcome to the other Sibo.
Yeah,
Love it.
I must apologize. I did get the link from a group I'm in. I haven't got a story to share as such because I wanted to listen and be like, so I think I must have got the wrong link. But having said that, I work in the United Kingdom and I work with women, children and families really, and we do quite a lot of work around domestic violence. And obviously, I think I echo what Zanai has said. And during my 10 years in this role, I've noticed that there have been changes in the way we approach domestic violence. And obviously, as you know, there are about 4 or 5 forms of violence. There's financial abuse, there's emotional abuse, there is physical abuse, and obviously sexual abuse. And all those can actually happen in an intimate relationship. And it takes a woman about at least 35 times before they actually leave. And what advice we always give also is that around the time when a lady is about to leave a relationship, like a violent relationship, that is where they are vulnerable the most. So it has to be systematically planned. And what we always obviously advise in my role is to almost have a plan and have a friend where you've got strategies of how you plan to live, and you do it in a very gentle way. And because I also work in the healthcare system, we're actually at the forefront of dealing with ladies who are going through this. And we make it so what our motto is: every contact counts. So whenever a lady say visits a doctor and so forth, that's our opportunity to raise an awareness on domestic violence. And normally, the way I actually sell it in my role is that I would say it might not affect you, but you might know somebody who is affected by this. Reasons being that, most people, if they are victims, they don't want to admit, particularly if they've met you for the first time. So we raise an awareness and we give them information, we signpost them, and we give them all the advice. So every opportunity where you see a lady, it counts. However, having said that, I've also encountered like men who've actually been victims of domestic violence as well. So we signpost them. Unfortunately, in most cultures, men find it very difficult to come forth, particularly if they are victims. But there are ways and means to support them as well. And what I noticed as well, I don't know about the rest, but particularly in certain cultures, domestic violence is totally ignored, and it's something that's quite acceptable. I'll give you an example of years back. My cousin, a husband threw an ex towards her, and that ex missed her by inches. And when she went to family members to report that this was what she's experiencing, she was encouraged to stay for the sake of the kids, of which then I said that she is going to actually die and leave those kids. So it's about time we all raise that awareness and look out for each other, because anyone can be a victim, and it actually happens across culture and across like classes as well. And we find that domestic violence a lot of times is reported in the lower class. People in the affluent classes find it difficult to discuss about it because they want to keep their stature, they want to keep, their position. But we need to be raising that awareness. So I'm sorry, I wasn't quite prepared, but I find this topic very interesting. if I was prepared, I would have brought on some work. A few years ago, I completed my master's, and part of what I did, I looked at domestic violence, and I had, I gathered a lot of information. But this is going back at least 5, 6 years. So if obviously I've only got the link a few hours ago, if I was well prepared, I would have presented that.
We are grateful for your contribution. Manuela, you're muted.
Sibo,
for filling
thank you so much.
Namesake, because she's going to be here in a few minutes, in 10 minutes time.
That's absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so I probably got a different link, but I'm glad anyway. I managed to share something. So I would like to be obviously to work and get involved in that work because that's my line of work anyway. And I'm so passionate about women. And I've also got a friend. Next time I know, she also does quite a lot of work on that, and she covers it on the religion aspect of things as well. Because many times we find, particularly if you probably go to a certain denomination or so forth, sometimes it's actually swiped under the carpet. It's something that's not talked about, and people would say, "Oh, let's pray about it." But violence is violence. You can pray about it, but you need to take action as well. Like what was and I said is, you need to be in love with yourself. Because if you love yourself, then you'll be able to love everybody else. And once you love yourself enough, you won't allow anyone else not to love you.
Sibo, what a
Thank
powerful
you.
message and reminder, that you shared with us this morning. Thank you so much. And I have to apologize for introducing you as another Sibo.
I know.
That's a beautiful name. If I could choose, I would call myself Sibo as well. So my apologies about that. But something that I got from your powerful message is the need of creating awareness about domestic violence, because it comes with such a stigma, right? And such a shame, not just within the close, the relationship or that lady, also the closest family and friends, perhaps. And I remember being in a situation where I shared something very powerful and very sad many years ago. And the answer that I got was just forgive and forget. And I was
Absolutely,
completely broken. But yes, that is that shame, and that, just keep quiet and carry on. So what a powerful message. Thank you so much, Sibo. It's been a pleasure.
So Sibo, we want to formally ask you to register. Go onto our website, herstorycircle.com. This month, every single day, we are looking for 10 speakers. So we will slot you into the program, formally introduce you, and have you be part of our tribe. I'll put the link to the website in the chat, okay?
Absolutely. At least, yeah. Then I can be more prepared then.
Well, you did good without preparation, so you're a natural. We want you to be a part of the tribe.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
I don't know if Ruth has any comments. Wazi, do you have any comments? We'll wait for the other Sibo to come. She's going to be here in about 5 minutes' time.
Yes, I just wanted to say, Sibo, thank you so much. From the hearing it from the other side, from somebody, who works with domestic abuse survivors, it's so important to know that there is a whole healthcare system out there that is there to help and assist. And so it's so important. However, having said that, I know that healthcare system is maybe in the UK and may not be in places and countries where people are not so sensitized to domestic abuse. I know that a lot of people have gone to police stations, and as you said, it takes did you say 35 times to leave? I knew it was 7 times. Yeah, it takes 35 times to leave. I know a lot of women who get cops called on them, and then the cops would come and say, this is a domestic violence situation, we can't help you. Or they're asked to report, and they report, and then they withdraw their report, because they're dependent on this person. She gives them she or he gives her flowers or him flowers, and so that's why it's so important that sensitization happens even to the service providers, so that they understand how confused a domestic violence survivor is. You have a form of Stockholm Syndrome. I don't know if people know what Stockholm Syndrome is. Stockholm Syndrome means you kind of identify with your abuser, right? It happened to a kidnapped victim, and because you love this person, remember, and because your love is so pure, you can never imagine that that person means you evil, right? Means bad. And perpetrators of domestic violence, guys, have issues. They hurt people. So a lot of the times we look at them and say, oh, that's a horrible person. And sometimes it's just a person who's in incredible pain, who went through their own domestic violence situation. However, as I keep saying, it's not your job to save another person. That is not what you were put on this earth to do. So if that person is not able to save themselves, sometimes you need to walk away from a toxic situation. And always, I emphasize, safely, please.
Wonderful. And Radzi, can you please email me that poem and the person who wrote it, if you know where the reference is from?
I don't know who did it, but I've put it in the chat, but I'll also email it to you, no problem.
It's not the full poem. It's truncated.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
I'll email it to you.
It's a beautiful poem, beautiful resource as well. All right, ladies. So as we wait for Sibo to come, she did tell me she would come in at 8 o'clock. I had forgotten, but so when I saw Sibo, I thought she was on her way.
Yeah.
I
was just listening to the credentials thinking, God, that's really beautiful.
You have just owned it, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah. I you know what? I received it.
It's good to receive your namesake's blessing. So it's a good thing you get to meet her as well. She was based here in Melbourne, Australia. So we want to create a whole network. So ladies, while we're waiting for Sibo to come, for those of you who don't know, I won the New Zealand Australia Women in Technology Awards in November last year for an app that I'm developing to connect our community. Now, this app, the best way I can explain it is, imagine a woman in a village in Africa designs a tribal necklace, takes a picture and transmits it through the app like WhatsApp, and we pick up that image and share her backstory. Is she widowed, separated, divorced? How many children does she have? And we broadcast that image to designers in New York who are getting ready for New York Fashion Week. And that piece of jewelry ends up on a runway in New York. And that woman in a village that has no electricity, no running water, gets paid through her phone what that piece of jewelry is worth when it's on New York Fashion Week. So like, my passion is to go back home to Africa, to support our sisters, our friends, to find ways of making money online. But a lot of women in rural communities don't get access to the global marketplace because they don't have the internet. But everybody has a cell phone. So this app is going to use cell phone technology. For those of you who are from Zimbabwe, we send money to our parents, to our family. No matter where they are, everybody's got a cell phone. They use their cell phones to transact. So this is what this app is about. It's called the Diversity Connector. Now imagine that same woman then gets picked to give a lecture to students who are studying sustainable fashion in Paris. She's designed this necklace with natural wood. This is made out of bone. She's dyed it with natural colors. This was just burnt, so it was white, and it's burnt to develop the black. People are looking for sustainable fashion, right? Fashion that's not using chemicals, using natural dyes. And she ends up as a lecturer, a 1-hour lecture to university students in Paris. And we are facilitating this by connecting people and creating this bridge between women in developing countries, women in the first world, so we can help our sisters make money and transact. The app will also give you access to my free coaching program. So my passion is to empower women to use their voices, to find ways to make an income online. I've created a program that is self-paced. It's a video course. So you'll get access to this video course as well when you register on the app. As soon as you come on the app, you're paired up with an accountability partner, someone in another part of the world. They could be in the same city as you, and you can schedule appointments so you can meet online and practice your speeches. You get rewards by introducing other women to the platform, because the bigger we grow our platform, the wider our reach is going to get. Does that make sense? So that when you come online and we are broadcasting these videos, if we had a database with 1 million women who are watching us right now, they're going to be connected through this platform and through this app. So that's where Herstory is going. We're going to really use technology to give us exposure to the global marketplace. I have built a database of corporations that are looking for diverse women. Diversity, inclusion, and belonging is a big subject right now. I've been doing workshops for big organizations. I do lectures sitting on my couch at home. You get paid anywhere from 3 to 10,000 euro an hour. So if you are a woman of color, if you are a woman from a diverse background, whether you're blind, whether you're disabled, if you know a woman like that who has a story to share, please introduce them. This is our time. You know, when I moved to Melbourne, I was trying to find a way to connect with other women, get myself out there, start building this database. And I had one friend who's based in Brisbane, Australia, who built a very lucrative business when she moved to Australia by buying a golf club, one golf club. And she signed up with a golf club, and she would go and hit these balls. Every Friday, she would just go into the batting cages and hit these balls. Then she would go and sit at the bar or the restaurant, have a meal with a stack of business cards. She built a lucrative business networking through golf. So I've taken up golf this year, ladies. And do you know, I'm about to sign up my first client in golf, because Golf Australia is trying to get women into golf. So be creative in terms of how you position yourself in the marketplace, how you find clients, how you network. For me, golfing gets me to go outdoors. I have hypertension. I need to walk. I can't run for exercise. But I can go and play a round of golf and walk for 3, 4, 5 hours with a group of other women. And at the same time, I'm networking, I'm doing business. So let's be creative in terms of how we get ourselves out there. And this is what this app is going to do. I'll be exposing opportunities that you never really think about in life. You know, how do I find those new clients? How do I get those free speaking opportunities? And what I'm really wanting is to show you that even if you're called to speak for free, you can monetize these free speaking opportunities. Number one, you create what's called a digital footprint for yourself. Right now, Sibo, you came on very impromptu. You shared your wisdom with us. This is a video that you can repurpose. You can edit just the section where you were speaking. You can put it on TikTok. You can put it on your YouTube channel. You can put it on LinkedIn. For people to hire you as a speaker, they have to hear you speaking. I have a lot of coaching clients who are saying to me, Gertrude, I want to give up my day job. I want to speak professionally like you. How are you making 6 to 7 figures a year as a speaker? You only get hired when people see you speaking. And right now, the world is flat, ladies, because of what COVID has done. There's so much work online, but you have to be visible. Because before they hire you to speak, they're going to Google your name. If any of you go onto Google right now and look for Gertrude Mache, you will find thousands of videos of me speaking. I take up any opportunity, free or paid, to build my digital platform. The people who hire you don't know whether you were paid or not. You can go and speak at a conference for free, stand on stage, get the video footage and use it for your marketing material. So I really want to empower all of the women who are part of Herstory to see how successful you can be by getting yourself out there and being visible. So it looks like Sibo is running late. I'm not too sure what is going on with her. We have Rory's video. And Manuela, I'm going to ask you to read out Rory's bio, and I'll share that video so we can move on with the program. Otherwise, we're going to run out of time and Sibo can come in next.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Gertrude. Yes. Let me see. Wonderful. So, yeah, so while we wait, let me read Rory's bio. She's based in Ontario, Canada. She's born in Tanzania. It's a he.
It's a he.
Oh,
yes.
My apologies. I've never heard this name. So how do you pronounce it again?
Rory.
Rory. Fantastic.
It's Irish,
wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Oh, my apologies. So Rory was born in Tanzania, and he's an Ensign Cum Laude, honours graduate of the University of Edinburgh, and received a scholarship for Seth Godin's internationally acclaimed MBA program, from which he graduated in 2020. He is an award-winning suicidologist, professional counselor, human behaviorist, global thinker, advocate, ethicist, and speaker. Since 2000, his organization, Humanity Unlimited Global, formerly known as Your Life Counts International, has a steady well over 8,000 individuals in over 35 countries, helping them to say no to suicide and reconnecting them with hope and the reasons to live. How beautiful.
Hi, good people, wherever you are. Thanks for allowing me to join you for a few minutes in your journey through this wonderful thing called life. Now, you may be wondering where my accent is from, and good luck with that. Is it from Scotland, the land of the haggis and the bagpipes? Or is it from Ireland? Where now, to be sure, it could be. Or South Africa, or perhaps Australia. G'day, mate. How's it going, all right? Or shall we get Prince Charles to tell you on my behalf? Yes, one is delighted to join you today and to let you know this fellow was born in Arusha, Tanzania. For those of you that didn't know, then I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have worked that one out. And just to give you even more of a headache, I'm based in Canada. But I must say the drums of Africa never stop beating within me. And that's a good thing. Now, I think you already know that Gertrude is a very special lady. When she asked me to share with you the power of giving, I was excited because there's something really special that happens when you give. Many of us will think of giving in financial terms, and yes, that's a piece of the jigsaw, but it isn't the whole picture. If I understood giving just in financial terms, then my work with over 8,000 people directly and many thousands more in over 35 countries over the past 20 years would make no sense, because it's been on fumes. But as in the aim of the conference, we're all about making the impossible possible. Audrey Hepburn said, "Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible." Just separating the word and adding an apostrophe turns the whole meaning 180 degrees. Now, I'm going to quote a few of my heroes in this short presentation, and one of them is Sir Winston Churchill, who once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." So true. The key word here is give. Giving is free in the sense that it is an act of free will. The act of giving unconditionally doesn't cost anything, and in so many ways, it's all about giving back. I love this quote from Denzel Washington. At the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. As we give, we open our hearts to go deeper in compassion, empathy, and kindness, all things that help to make the world go around and give hope to those precious folk who may be broken in heart, soul, and spirit. We can't all be a Mother Teresa, but here's her message to you. One thing I ask of you, never be afraid of giving. There is a deep joy in giving, since what we receive is much more than what we give. And as we give, it's not necessary to make a noise or a fuss about it. Giving has a way of speaking for itself, of making itself known. When we give back, in so many ways, we are paying things forward. There are many people throughout the ages who will attest to good things happening in their lives when they've least expected it. Whether or not you can draw a direct line to that caring act of giving somewhere in life's journey is perhaps something to think about. There are folks who would say, what goes around comes around, and others who would say, you give out to the universe and the universe gives back. Without getting caught up in theology, philosophy, and dogma, there's enough experience and commentary out there to point to the fact that there is a power in giving. When you give, you somehow tap into that power, and it's all good. It seems to me there are three main ways that we can give. There's our time, our talents, and our treasures. We give of our time in helping others, people we know or people we don't know. It's that word give that shapes how we can respond to the needs of others, whatever those needs may be. Perhaps it is sitting down and just listening to someone who needs someone to be there in their time of need, to be a listening ear. There's an old saying, a problem shared is a problem halved, and how true that is. Taking time to listen is something we could all do a lot more of. It may take 15 minutes out of your day, or half an hour, or an hour or more. This is giving. Giving of yourself and your time. Giving encouragement and hope. And it's something money can't buy. In my work, I've many years of experiencing the difference that making time for people makes in people's lives. It's just taking time to listen and help people to refocus on their lives. And that makes all the difference in the world. It helps to keep them alive. Now, there was a young teenage girl. She was suicidal and was having difficulty connecting with herself. I asked her a number of questions, which included asking who in her family was important to her, and she responded that none of them were important to her, and she meant it. The answers to my questions were all very negative. And then I asked her if she had any pets, to which she responded that she had a cat. Turns out the cat was very important to her, so I asked her who would look after the cat if she was no longer here, and what would happen to it. And at that point, this precious young girl broke down and said that she loved her cat so much. She realized that she had to live because her cat needed her. And I'm so glad to say that over the next month or so, this young lady was reconnected with hope, and she found purpose, value, and meaning for her life by realizing that she wanted to work with animals. That's one of the joys of my work. Her life was turned around by the power of giving into her life. Then there's giving of our talents. We all have something we can do well. We all have a gift, often more so than we give ourselves credit for. And that talent may well be needed right on your doorstep or on the other side of the world. Technology opens the doors to more connections and opportunities to get involved, to volunteer. What is your special talent? What do you feel you can offer? What's stopping you? Can't, won't, maybe? I'd like to share another very real experience from my own life. The background to this is that my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer 5 years ago. She had 2 surgeries and 25 sessions of radiation therapy, and she was also recovering from a level 3 concussion injury that she had sustained at work. And all along, she has battled with problems with her one kidney. Now, I'm glad to say she's doing well today because of her positive attitude, and her energy in the face of it all has really been amazing. Throughout all of this, I've continued in my work on fumes. I sometimes wonder why I'm doing this. Yet people every day are the answer to the why, and my wife's encouragement to keep going. But here's the other side of it. So much of what we have is 20 years old. I could write a book on the things that need to be replaced in our home, but more specifically, about 2 years ago, our roof started to leak. It was in our bedroom. And so every time we had heavy rainfall, I was emptying buckets that were filling up fast. And I wasn't getting much sleep. We couldn't afford to get the roof fixed, so I decided to call a fellow whose number had been given to me by a friend. Now, I spoke with this fellow and I explained our predicament and that we didn't have the money to fix the roof. And you know, the next day, our roof was fixed, and the fellow said to me that he didn't want payment for the work. He was just glad that he could help, especially because my wife was recovering from the radiation treatment at that time. And in a later conversation with him, I discovered that he had lost his wife to a sudden heart attack just 8 months before. He then told me that helping us was helping him to cope with his grief and his loss. Now, we had tears together, and I could share with you many other stories, but time here does not permit. I'd also mentioned giving of our treasures, and this could be giving money or possessions, or even something as practical as giving baked goods, bread, for example, anything really that helps others to cope and to make it through. It's all about not holding on to everything we have, but recognizing that sharing something of what we have to improve the situation of another is such a precious opportunity and an honor. The greatest joy in all of living is the joy that comes from freely giving. And then there's that word unconditional, which means just that. No conditions, no strings, no expectation in receiving anything in return. When we freely give unconditionally, something very special happens. Giving makes us feel good, useful, and meaningful. It gives us a sense of connectedness and belonging that most of us find hard to articulate. Giving honors humanity. Giving is a pure expression in the spirit of Ubuntu, that we all exist because of each other. Ubuntu is a Nguni Bantu term meaning humanity. We belong. I am because you are. When I was at the University of Edinburgh, I used to meet for lunch with a few fellow students, and one of them was a quiet fellow from South Korea. I spent a lot of time with him discussing so many of the challenges of our times, and whenever we sat down to eat our packed lunch, John would insist on sharing his sandwich with me. What made it complicated was that his sandwiches were often fish or meat, and I've been a vegetarian since the age of 5, so he would ensure that he had a sandwich for me that didn't have any fish or meat in it. He knew that I brought my own sandwiches, but it was important for him to give and to share his lunch with me. And no matter how much I tried to reassure him that I was okay, this was something he had to do. It was a part of his culture and a part of his honoring me, his friend. And I never ceased to be so humbled by his quiet giving. It witnessed to me in ways that I'll never forget, and also made me realize just how much we can learn from other cultures and from one another, that every culture has something to offer in humanity together. As we emerge slowly from the pandemic and the disruption to our daily lives of the past 2 years, our challenge and our opportunity is to rebuild and strengthen our global community in positive and good, life-affirming ways. Let's not forget the many children and youth who have also had such a tough time through the pandemic and are looking closely at the world around them. How you and I treat each other is important. It's a powerful witness to our younger generations, and they're watching. We need to be solid role models for them to build their lives and their future. And as in the spirit of Ubuntu, their future is our future and our future is their future. We're all connected. There are also many people who are grieving and feeling lonely and disenfranchised. There's a deep human need to feel a sense of belonging, and we can help one another to connect, to lift each other up, to encourage one another, to care, and so much more. And that all starts with the power of giving. Mahatma Gandhi said, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. You must be the change you wish to see in the world." So, it's over to you. Take care, and please do reach out to me. I will respond as best I can. Hi, good people, wherever you are. Thanks for allowing me to join you for a few minutes in your journey through this wonderful thing called life. Now, you may be wondering,
Ruth, can you hear me? Can we go back to our panel? Hi, Ruth.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful. Do we have Rory here with us?
No, we don't. Unfortunately, we don't. And the other ladies are not on camera.
Right.
Hi, Sibo, and welcome.
Hi, Sibo.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so welcome, Rita. And who else is new? That's it. Okay. So let's talk about.
Should we introduce Sibo again briefly?
Yes, we can do that.
Let's see.
Wonderful. But maybe so, we can just have a chat about Rory's presentation and what the work that he's doing, especially amongst the distressed who would want to commit suicide or on the verge of committing suicide.
They were very powerful messages, don't you think? They were very, very powerful messages in his video, and I was really, really moved by the power of giving, and how in the process of doing so you can turn your life around. How powerful is that? And we forget about it. We forget about that gift that we have to, for others, to share with others. So that's absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful message. And I really hope that we can reconnect with Rory. We can have Rory as a guest another time. It would be really inspiring to have a conversation with him and ask him some questions directly as well. I really loved it.
Yes, he's going to be part of. I think there's a session that he will be available for questions and answers. But what an awesome man! And Horror on Facebook comments, "Welcome, Horror. Good to have you with us." And you say, "So profound, unconditional love, and wow, what a culture! I'm so humbled."
It's just really beautiful.
Yeah, he's almost like a global citizen, hey?
Yeah.
Because he was born in Arusha, in Africa, Irish parents, living in Canada, but also having had traveled all over the world. What an amazing man! Would really, I'm really looking forward to asking him some questions.
Absolutely, me too.
Okay.
And he put it beautifully by saying that with his background is so colorful, right? He
Yes.
was born in Tanzania with a beautiful Irish accent. It was beautiful, and he put it really he put it out there in a really lovely way by saying that every culture has something to offer to humanity. And I think that's a really powerful message and reminder to all of us to take with us today, right?
Yeah, true. Okay, so on to our next speaker, Manuela.
Wonderful. Who is our next speaker?
Sibo, she's here.
We have beautiful Sibo joining us. Shall we go quickly through her bio?
Yes, you've got it in the private chat.
Fantastic. Bio. Oh, wait for me. Oh, wonderful. Fantastic. So so we have Sibo Moyo with us today, and which is absolutely a pleasure to welcome her with us today. She's a social entrepreneur, speaker, and writer based in Melbourne, Australia. She has a background in engineering, having studied a bachelor's in industrial engineering and a master's in engineering management. Sibo is originally from Harare in Zimbabwe, where she was born and raised. As a social entrepreneur, she founded Love Alive Foundation, which is an organization that helps orphaned and vulnerable in Zimbabwe to have access to education and opportunities. Sibo is a speaker who is passionate about telling her own story, intercultural dialogue, empowering young people, and motivating people to make a difference in their community. As a writer, she writes regularly on her blog and is on the path to publishing her first book this year, 2022. Welcome, Sibo. It's an absolutely honor to have you here with us. What a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Manuela. You've done a very great job introducing me. The only thing I'll add is that I'm speaking to you guys from Melbourne. So, good morning from Melbourne. I'm not sure where our viewers are all over the world. And I'll first by saying happy International Women's Month. I know there's a day, but I think this month, like all months should be, is all things women. And today I'll be talking about giving to women. So this month is pretty special to me, as I've probably just said, as we have our International Women's Day coming up on the 8th of March. And I'll start by sharing an important lesson that I learned from my mother when I was young. My mother is someone that strongly believes that women need to stand together and support each other. And I remember growing up in a conservative society, even if a woman had done something wrong, my mom would always tell the other women not to, insult her or shout at her in public, but instead to stand with her. And then we could correct ourselves in the sisterhood. So from a very young age, I was taught the importance of women standing together and the power that could come from that. Because my mom believes that that sends a message to the men that they can't mess with women because, we come as a tribe. Like we're not, all isolated in that regard. And I've been blessed to have matriarchs who supported me all the way. And me speaking today will be mainly to pay a tribute to them, as well as to encourage everyone else to give to women. I remember at a young age when I would get a prize at my primary school, my grandmother would come along to support me and she would dance and she would ululate. So if you're from Africa or Southern Africa, women are known to do this. Please do excuse me if I'm not doing it correctly. Woo! So if you do very well, your grandma will come, your aunts will come, your mother will come, they'll be dancing, they'll be ululating. So from a young age, I knew that my success was supported by the women that I had around me. And as a result, I grew up being an ambitious child. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be the president. I wanted to change the world. So I knew at some point I was going to, be successful. And with that support that they gave me, I went to study engineering. I remember, trying to choose career path because I enjoyed math. And, as much as I may have been a doctor, but I figured I'm not going to spend 10 years in school. I appreciate all the doctors out there. I love you and, appreciate you very much because you do what I know I couldn't do. And I remember my dad saying to me that, focus on your success first. Don't limit yourself because you're a girl or think, oh, I have to get married first. He said, go for success. Your personal success comes first. And with that, I was so happy to have, a father figure who could support me and rally me on. So in the end, when I chose engineering, I had the support of all my matriarchs as well as my tribe. And being a woman of color, a Black woman in a STEM field that is male dominated, I wouldn't have done it without their support. So if you know any young girl around you who wants to do engineering, math, or science, please stand behind them and support them strongly. And with that, I went on to start Love Alive Foundation, which will help me to give back to vulnerable young people to have an education and give them a chance to have a great and decent life. And I've published my book finally, which I'm very proud of. And I remember my mom asking for the photos of the book, and she had it on her WhatsApp profile and social media profiles for months, as well as my father. So when it comes to me, the best is yet to come. So today I'm here to mainly encourage you to support every woman in your life. Be a mentor to a young girl because you telling her she can do it will make the vast amount of difference in her life. Share opportunities with other women. I know sometimes an opportunity comes and you kind of want to grab and keep it to yourself, but I encourage you to share with another woman in your network. Or if another woman is having an event, make yourself available, volunteer. If you have the financial resources, go ahead and give. Sponsor another woman, help her share her story, or give her a platform like what Gertrude has done for me and many other women who have spoken today and who are going to continue to speak on her story. And I'll use one of my favorite sayings that I say: be your sister's keeper, because she's relying on you to keep her safe. And if another woman is being oppressed at work or wherever you are, do stand up for her. And if you're not a woman gender wise or you don't identify as a woman, you're not exempted from this. I'm calling you in as well. Do support those women that are around you because they do need your support. Be there for her, even though you're not a her or identify as a her. It will make the difference. And I don't think it should only be limited to this month alone, but it should go on and on and on because, women are a very important part of our society. I remember having a discussion with one of my friends when COVID hit. There was a race to find a vaccine and everything. And I remember saying to her that what if the cure for COVID is within a little girl who no one is supporting? And then we were quiet for, a moment because it seemed like we'd had an epiphany. But basically, all I'm saying is for society to advance, for us to solve the, multiplying problems that come through. Is it war? Is it invasions? Is it pandemics? The world cannot function at its optimal best if women are not being empowered. As someone once said in a talk that I heard, it's a few years back, she said it's like expecting the world plane to take off when one engine is functioning and the other engine is not being serviced, the other engine being women or people who identify as women. So let's make sure that both engines are functioning in that sense and that women are able to advance. So to put myself on the line out here, this month I've decided to give back to women by helping my Rotary Club to fundraise for birthing kits to help women and remote carers to give birth safely. So, a birthing kit has what every, person giving birth may need. So is it gloves? Is it something that they need to cut the umbilical cord? And any other things that help to clean up mom and baby. So a birthing kit costs around $5. And I thought to myself, that's a cup of coffee in Melbourne. And why should, infant mortality rate increase for a cup of coffee? So that's all it takes for a mom to give birth safely. And my Rotary Club has, like I said, has partnered with the Birthing Kit Foundation. And the Birthing Kit Foundation is doing a really good job. And some of the countries that benefit from this include my own home country, where I'm originally from, Zimbabwe, Uganda, and other developing nations. So today, to end, I just say for this month, take out time, empower a woman, sponsor a woman, support a woman. And if you're a woman, hold your head up high. You're confident. We're here for you. We're backing you and we're supporting you. Thank you very much. That'll be it from me today.
Sibo, thank you so much. That was such an empowering message for beautiful women out there listening to you, listening to us today. Thank you so much. I loved what you said, be your sister's keepers. What a powerful message, right? And I absolutely loved it. Ruth, have you got any questions? Do we have any questions for Sibo today?
What I wanted, a number of things that jumped out from your presentation, Sibo. One, that you had the maternal tribe or maternal members of your family showing you and teaching you from a very early age that women support each other. Women come together, form a circle of protection around each other. That's powerful, because most of the times women, we are the ones who tear other women down. We pull other women down. But you were taught at an early age that it's important to support other women, and it's important to be supported by women. I love that. And then the second thing that I wanted to commend you for is the work that you are doing back in Zimbabwe when it comes to the child mortality rate and the child birth deaths that are happening in some remote areas where women don't have everything they need to bring a child safely into the world. Well done on that. And if you have will you please share your website, your email, where people can reach out to you in case there's somebody who's watching or listening would want to be part of this initiative that you are working on? We'll really love to talk about it on our different platforms. Please share the information in the private chats and we'll put it out on our Facebook page.
Okay,
thank you, Manuela.
I'll share my details. Link I may have.
Thank you so much, Sibo. Wonderful to see you this morning.
Great to see you too, Gertrude.
Did you guys share the comments that are coming on Facebook?
Yes, we did. Oh, okay. So there's one from Horror, Favor Manje. Horror is in SA, South Africa. And he says, thank you, Sister Sibo. Well said. There is something in having someone who stands with you. You become bold and confident in yourself. So true. Just knowing that you have that support and there's somebody standing by you, it just makes you stronger. And he says, I personally took that as a lesson that I need to be supportive to my children, be it a boy or girl. I think it is very profound that I stand with the people around me. Thank you, Hora.
I would definitely love to learn more about this fundraising initiative, Sibo, the birth kits that you were talking about. So if you could please share any more information about this, because you're so right. $5 is like a coffee, right? So and if there's so many women out there that we could help and support. It's something incredibly powerful and beautiful.
Okay, sure. I'll share the link in the chat.
Thank
Actually,
you.
put it in the
Thank
chat
you.
now so we can put it under the video so that if there's anybody out there who would like to contribute, please let us help Sibo and her Rotary Club raise the funds that are needed for this. And if you could all share this link on your social media platforms. There's so many of us in the Herstory network. Let's make a difference, help women safely give birth. This is something we take for granted, and it's just $5. If you could sacrifice a cup of coffee to support us with this effort, tag your friends on this link as well. So put it in the private chat, Sibo, so we can share it. So Prosperity Rich Valentine is going to be next.
Yes, she is next. I've put her bio in the private chat, Manuela.
Wonderful. Let me take a look. Prosperity Rich.
Do that, Manuela. Let me just display Sibo's GoFundMe link on video, just so that if there's anybody out there who's inspired to make a difference, this is where you can go to help us with $5 so we can get as many birthing kits for Sibo's campaign. It's a GoFundMe link. I might just stop it from scrolling for a minute and keep it in one place. It's hard to read when it's moving across the screen. So there we go. So take a screenshot, everybody. Thank you so much. Wonderful. All right, so you can go ahead and read the bio of our next speaker, and I'll cue up the video. Thank you, Sibo. Hang around if you feel like it. If you have to go to work, we understand.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Sibo. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Wonderful. I'm from Sibo. We moved to our next guest, and this is her bio, the one that she shared with us. She calls herself Prosperity Rich, which used to be Fiona Valentine, and I grew up in the 1960s in Edinburgh, Scotland. Sorry, am I reading properly? Let me start again. It says, I call myself Prosperity Rich, which used to be Fiona Valentine, and I grew up in the 1960s in Edinburgh, Scotland. That is where my story started from. I was sexually abused by my father, and I was young, maybe 7 or even younger. He used to come into my bedroom at night and even follow me to the toilet. This happened a lot when my mom was not around. The only time I felt peace was when he went back to work, as he was in the merchant navy. He would be gone for months at a time, and I grew up with so much hate for what he did to me and said. I could never forgive him. What I want is for young children to be protected from abuse of all forms, and for people starting to speak out, and for it to stop happening. I want to raise more awareness and to counsel and coach anyone who still needs help after going through any form of abuse.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Macha here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman coming to us all the way from the UK. Welcome back to the tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
I'm I'm 59 years old, and my name's Prosperity Valentine. And my story is about what I've always been talking about is what I went through as a child, where I was sexually abused. And so my story is that what I want to be, what I've been trying to do is to reach out to others who have been sexually abused, and not just anybody who's just been sexually abused, but anyone who's been abused physically, mentally, or anything at all to do with abuse. Because I know when it comes to abuse, there's many things involved in being abused. And so I've went on Facebook a few times, but I've not been on Facebook for, I don't know, a few months. But I'm going to start going back on Facebook again. So when I go on Facebook, it was every Saturday I was going on, and I was just sharing with people about the different things that you go through when you get sexually abused, about you hold unforgiveness, that you have bitterness, you have anger, you have so many things. There's so many things involved. You can be suicidal. Some people they try and take their lives, so they're suicidal, but they actually try and take their lives. And some people, they may die. I don't know, but I know in my case I didn't die. That's some of the things that I talk about. And also talk about my faith as well. I'm a born-again Christian, so I talk about my faith as well. And so what my talks are usually is based on my faith, because I give scriptures while I'm speaking. I usually say some scriptures to try and help to encourage anyone who's going through similar problems.
So I know that sexual abuse is a huge problem all over the world. This is a story that we hear time and time and time again. Women who went through traumatic experiences in their childhood, and they've had to live with those traumatic experiences all of their lives. How did it impact you?
How do you mean? How did it impact me?
How did
I'm not quite.
You?
It affected me greatly as I was growing up. I had so much anger, so much bitterness, so much hatred. I tried to kill myself, and I just got into trouble because I used to go around picking on other people. If they said anything to me, I would just want to beat them up because I had all this anger and that. And people they used to try and bully me. And I thought, I'm not going to allow it, because when you've been abused, you don't want anybody else to try and abuse you or bully you. So, yeah.
And what are you doing now to help empower other women? I know that part of sharing your story is your mission to do that. Why do you think it's important that we talk about these issues?
Why? Because it's what I wanted to do. What I would like to see is people to speak up for themselves, and if anybody sees anybody who's getting abused or that, to also, I would like to see these people not to keep quiet any longer, but I would like to see them to speak. I would like them to start speaking out and telling people what's going on. And I've said before, it's like a taboo, where people they just don't want to talk about it, probably because they may feel ashamed or guilty. And because I know I used to feel that way before, but when I started talking about it, it helps. And when I became born again, that also helped me, because I used to I used to hate myself as well. I used to think, why am I here? Why am I living just to go through this? It's like I live in hell. I used to think all sorts of things. And so that's why I have to decide. God started talking to me to reach out for other people who've been through similar situations.
Yeah, and I think it's so empowering when you hear another woman sharing her story. For most women, they feel like they're not alone. It didn't just happen to them. And you talked a little bit about hating yourself. Now, a lot of children, when they go through these traumatic experiences, they feel like it was their fault that this happened to them. The same thing happens to you. What could you say to another woman who's feeling that way right now, listening to you speak? What advice would you give her?
Advice would I give her? I would tell her it wasn't her fault, because I think that's what most people who've been through. They blame themselves, that they think they have something to do with it. But when you're small, there's really not much that you can do. And yeah, so I would tell them not to blame themselves. I think that's the most important thing, not to hate themselves, not to blame themselves, and to start seeking to get help, get counselling. And yeah, to get counselling, I think, would be important. Be able to speak to somebody that they can trust, to let them know that they're not alone, that there's people out there who can help them. But they need to have that mindset where they're willing to reach out to somebody for somebody to be able to help them.
Yeah. Now, you and I have talked in the past, we've connected before. You know what my passion is, to bring these stories to light, to bring these stories to people from all over the world. Why have you decided to keep coming back to the Herstory platform to share your story? What is the impact that you got from the last event? What is driving you to keep on speaking?
What's driving me, it's hard to explain. It's something, it's within. I would say it's my calling. It's my calling to be able to reach out for people. It's just something that's in you. You can't help yourself. It's not, you can control it, but it's hard to explain, to be honest. But yeah, it's, because I want to see people healed, I want to see people delivered, I want to see it stopped. And what I would like to do is be able to get some kind of campaign going where it could get taken to governments, and so they can, I don't know, change the laws to where it can start to stop these things from happening. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see happen.
Wow. Well, it's absolutely amazing that we're connecting with you and you're sharing this. I think it's also important for the men who are listening to this interview to know the impact of sexual abuse on women, what it does for the rest of their lives. Tell me, how did it affect your life going forwards when this happened to you?
When I was smaller, I used to be quiet. I would keep myself to myself. A lot of people would say I was shy, but I would have one best friend, and the first best friend I had, she was best friend since we started primary until we went to high school. Then we were separated because she went to a different high school from me. And you don't want to, I used to go long walks on my own as well, because I didn't want to be around people, and I wanted to be out of the house as much as possible. But like my father, he used to be in the Merchant Navy, so he would be on and at home maybe for about 3-4 weeks, and then he would be away to the Navy. So that was the time when I had peace. But when he was home, I would go outside as much as possible.
Yeah, so it completely changed your personality and your character. You became an introvert, not because you were quiet, but you were suppressing everything that you had gone through. Wow. So if you could, this is my last question for you. If you could have a conversation with that little girl with that younger woman and help her heal, what would you say to her?
What would I say? I would tell them that there's hope, not to give up, not to give in to all these things that's going on in their mind. And I would tell them I would say to them, things can be different, but you need to be willing. That's the thing. Before we can change things, we need to be willing. We need to see in our mind there's hope, that there's something else besides being sexually abused, because it's all to do with our mind.
And if you can harness the power of your mind, you can change everything.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Prosperity. This has been wonderful to reconnect with you. It's a real honor that we're having you speak again at our next online summit in March. And I am hoping that this podcast interview will help amplify your voice and get your story out into the world as well. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Herstory movement is about shining a light on women's stories, having our voices be heard, not just in the towns, the villages, the cities we live in, but globally as well. And that through the sharing of our stories, we create a safe space for the stories to breathe, for women to be heard. So thank you so much. It's a real honor to reconnect with you in this way. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now. I love that woman. She is getting more and more confident.
Yes.
Every single time she comes back to share her story.
Absolutely.
Just an amazing soul.
I was very curious, Gertrude, sorry to interrupt, about something, because listening to our previous speaker, Sibo, she mentioned something like she mentioned, be your sister's keepers. And also she said, my success was supported by women, which is so empowering and powerful. And what I was very curious from Prosperity is, who was there to support her? Was there anyone to make that difference?
When I interviewed her last year, she said she had a best friend. I asked that question. She didn't have any support at home, but she had a best friend at school who supported her during those difficult times. Yeah, she said she had one person she could talk to. It's interesting you should ask that.
Yes.
Well, she's
Sometimes
asked me
that's
to
all you
help
need.
her publish her book. So watch this space. Prosperity is going to be publishing a book this year. So I'm really excited about that. She's just growing, year by year. She's turning into a completely different woman. And that's true transformation for me when I witnessed that. And we've all been a part of supporting her to get to this point. Each time we put out a call for speakers, she's the first one there. Amazing. Ruth, would you like to read out the messages on Facebook?
Yes, Hora, thank you. You're still with us. 3 minutes to midnight where you are. And you say, I'm so sorry to hear such terrible things that happened to you and that justice was never served. But I am at peace knowing that it never destroyed you and that you never think of committing suicide. I thank God for that. I have come to understand that sexual abuse is a huge problem and the damage it causes. I so believe that men are not being taught what it means to be fathers. Masculinity is taught, and if the sons are not being taught, we are not dealing with the problem. We need to uproot the evil. I don't know, you didn't finish there. But thank you so much for being part of the audience today and watching us from South Africa.
And this is why we want to bring men into the rooms where we are discussing women's issues.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that until we bring men into these spaces, we are really talking to ourselves. So if there are any men out there who would like to come and share the stage with us, you are welcome to be a part of this tribe to help lift us while we lift you. So thank you, Horrell. You're always there tuning in whenever we have an event. We really appreciate your presence.
Yes, thank you for the support.
So, Manuela, are you ready to introduce the next speaker?
I am indeed. I am. So our next speaker's name is Max Azarov. He has a very strong technical background in software combined with business acumen and management experience. He has experience with planning, developing, and launching consumer products for the internet with reach measured in millions of active users. He also has a very strong background in applied math, software design, digital signal processing. And he has represented companies in standardization bodies with different specialties such as strategic product planning and development, technology expertise such as internet, mobile, embedded, and business.
Okay. I'll start. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Butcher here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia today. And I am blessed with a host coming to us. I'm not sure which part of the country. Max, please introduce yourself. Tell us where you're based right now. And we will talk about the power of education and what you have done to change education in children's lives.
Hi, Gertrude. Hello, everyone. I'm Max Azarov. I'm CEO of NovaKid. Currently calling in from Russia, from Moscow area, and looking forward to this conversation.
Max, I've done a lot of research about you, the work that you have done in the edutech sphere. Tell me, you came from a very corporate background. What was the inspiration that took you down this track to create a platform like this to help children learn English in a very, very innovative and interesting way?
Well, it actually has always been my passion to teach. I always kind of envision myself as, sharing the knowledge and kind of teaching the new generation. This is one of the kind of being fantasies of mine for a very long time. And, I always kind of try to find ways to do that on the sidelines. Recently, when I actually became a father of three myself, it really dawned on me that, just education for kids in general and language learning specifically is just really stuck in the past. And I didn't see anybody innovating in this area. Just coincidentally, I was kind of hungry for a new project, something else to do, and decided to go ahead on pursue this idea.
So tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, how you came to developing the MVP for this app, and how you managed to raise the funds to actually get it out into 40 countries now?
Yeah, plus and minus. The journey has been, I would say short and long at the same time. It's very short when you've done it, and it's pretty long when you're doing it. We initially started with a very, very basic platform that mostly just, was mostly just one-on-one tutors with video link, and that we didn't even have mobile app. We only had a web app in your browser, very minimal materials for curriculum. off we went with that. So it actually took us only about, I think, 6 months. So there was only 2 content writers, myself and one more person, Amy, who's our director of learning efficacy now. And just, 2 of us, we wrote the whole curriculum within 6 months, first curriculum, of course, first version. So it was really, very minimal, very basic, but even that really got traction within the market, and we went from there.
Now, you've been extremely innovative in designing this curriculum. Children learn through play, and it's my understanding that you've gamified the learning process for children. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, we actually started with, as I said, with a fairly classic product, essentially just one-on-one tutoring transferred online. But very quickly we realized that it does not really release the full potential of the medium, right? Because internet is so much more than just a video link with the pictures, right? There's videos, there is games, and kids love that. Kids consume that with lots of pleasure. They spend lots of time on YouTube. I can attest to that myself with my kids. And basically, we started thinking, how can we harness that to really power the learning and to extend the learning outside of classroom? So once they are, completed their tutoring session, how can we keep them stick around for, let's say, the tutoring session is half an hour. How can we keep them to stick around for half an hour more and do more learning without actually kind of forcing the parents to be the bad guys to kind of say, okay, sit down and don't leave, right? And that's how the idea of storyline-based learning came around. So we basically decided, okay, let's design our curriculum about storylines, because as humans, and it's a very well researched fact, we absorb information a lot better when it's framed as stories, right? This is where all the fairy tales are coming from, because essentially, that's the way we learn. That's the way we absorb information. And we started building our first storyline curriculum, which is called Novokid Magic Academy. It's already used by about half of our students today. And it includes videos, it includes learning games. So basically all the main components that we know are engaging kids today. And we see that roughly about 50% of the time kids spend learning is actually outside of the tutoring sessions. So as I said, basically they spend almost as much time learning by themselves as they spend with the tutor, which is great, but I think we can do even better than that. And one of the other amazing outcomes is that we see about 28% uplift in the efficacy of learning. So basically how much material students actually absorb.
Okay.
That grows with this new curriculum.
And so are the kids getting some kind of an incentive, some kind of rewards? What is it that keeps them going? Are the stories that engaging that they just want to come back and find out what happened next?
Yes, exactly. So there is basically we use all the I would say state-of-the-art tools. So there is incentives within a game. They earn stars. They earn cups. There's leaderboards. We also have multiplayer components with player versus player, as well as co-op modes where students play together. So it's really using kind of the tool set that most of the games nowadays are using quite successfully, and it's really just a matter of putting some learning into this context. That's really where the trick lies. But I think our content writers are doing a great job to kind of make it feel like a game, but actually be a learning vehicle underneath.
That is fantastic. Now, I know that right now with COVID, a lot of parents are challenged with having kids at home, having to find other support for them to educate their kids. Have you found that with the current situation, there's a bigger uptake of your app? Has that made a difference?
Yes, we saw a huge uptick in beginning of pandemic in 2020. Over that year, we grew about 7 times year on year, which was completely unexpected, and we were not prepared for that. So I had to scramble a little bit to meet the demand. It definitely accelerated things. I think a lot of parents who were skeptical about online learning, and they were kind of happy with the current offline arrangements. They really were forced to try this new format. Yeah. And based on our experience, most of them were not disappointed.
Fantastic. Now you have an array of tutors from every single corner of the globe. I was on your website just looking at the different tutors that you've enrolled. How do you select your tutors? They're coming from different countries. And are they matched with the children from the countries that they're from, or it's just global?
It's global. We're basically building a global community. So the whole, by design, we're trying to match kids with tutors from other countries because, that's really what English language is all about, right? Communicating cross borders. Why would you want to talk to your countryman in English? It doesn't make any sense. Yes. So it's global. Moreover, we also are encouraging some student-to-student learning within the platform, as I mentioned, multiplayer game modes, and we're also encouraging students to communicate across borders. So it's really not just a school, it's actually a community of kids learning English, global community.
Fantastic. And I suppose just with the peer-to-peer connections with the kids, they get to learn other cultures as well. They get to understand people from different countries. So that's going to be another bonus from the experience that people get by coming onto this platform, correct?
Absolutely. I think I would even frame it kind of more broad than that, the kids who go through NovaKid experience, they are psychologically on a completely different level from other peers because they suddenly see that, hey, there's a big world out there. There is different people with different cultures, and I can speak to them. I can communicate to them. We can work together. So I think that's really what the future of workplace looks like. That's all our future, and we're giving them a head start, and hopefully, not just NovaKid, but hopefully in general, that's what the future looks like. That's what we aspire to.
Now, take me back to your formative years with regards to education. You're from Russia originally. I've noticed you've studied in the United States. Did you study English while you were in Russia, or did you learn when you left the country? Tell me a little bit about your background.
Both. I studied English when I was in country, also studied a little bit when I was in the US. Well, obviously, I would say not a little bit, I would say mostly practicing it. Let's studying the practical side. Yes. So when I came to the US, I definitely knew the theory, what it should be, but maybe kind of practice-wise, not so much. So it was definitely a mix, and my own experience definitely taught me that you better start practicing soon. Because first, I would say roughly maybe 10 to 12 years of studying English, I barely had any practice.
Okay, right. And it's completely different when you are in a country where you're fully immersed in the culture, in the language.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very different because it's you're expected to actually use this language to communicate, not just to kind of know about it.
Yes.
So it is different, and I believe kind of the big difference of the 21st century is that we're all going to be living in this world. You're not going to need to go to the US or the Australia to actually be immersed in English language, because it's going to be all around us as the world globalizes more and more.
Yeah, and with globalization, starting children off this early is just an amazing gift that I think you're bringing to the world. A lot of people end up as adults being thrown into different environments and not really knowing how to relate at a later age. So you're kind of flattening the playing field for these kids. So tell me a little bit about your organization and the corporate responsibility, social responsibility aspect. what do you do to give back to society through your business?
Well, I would start with our own team. So we basically are very diverse. Our own team comes from, I would say, probably 20 or so countries at the moment. We have people of all kinds of backgrounds, both ethnical, religious, and even like sex orientation. So we are very much, not that we ask people during the interview what they are, but you know, we have like all kinds of folks working in Advocate, and I'm very proud of that. I think this is really the you know, the way of the future, to be as inclusive as possible. We also have several programs when we work with some kids who had learning challenges. So maybe Andrew can help me with that. I think we had some of the programs specifically for kids who have dyslexia to help them, you know, learn reading better, things like that. But you know, we're still young, still a young company. I think there's still a lot of things we can do and will do to really make a difference. As we kind of build out our content portfolio, one thing that, you know, we're definitely looking into doing is making that available as much as possible to kids who may not necessarily afford, whose parents may not necessarily afford tutoring at the moment, but still they should be able to benefit from the content. We're still not there, but I'm hoping within a short period of time we will be there in position to do that.
That's fantastic. Now, education is a game changer for especially people in developing countries. I'm personally from Zimbabwe. I am where I am because I got a really good education. Now, why do you think education is so important for the future of humanity?
Well, you know, we are what we are, as you said, not because we're organically, you know, what we are, but also because there is a huge cultural layer on top of that, right? And culture is basically all about education. So I think it's essentially just something that makes a whole lot of sense if you want to have a prosperous, you know, nation. And it's been proven by, you know, over and over again in terms of the economic growth. Having more educated citizens just simply translates into better outcomes economically for countries, and it's been demonstrated over and over again. Especially, you know, recent transition example is when women finally started getting, you know, on par education with men. The uplift in the economic terms was tremendous, and I expect that, you know, this will continue to be so as more and more people get access to better education.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the future, you guys seem to be on the cutting edge with regards to how you're innovating and building out your platform. What can people expect? What else do you have in your back pocket that our listeners and our readers can get from you as an organization?
Well, they can expect us to continue innovating on the curriculum. They can expect us to have very strong focus on the efficacy of learning, to, you know, make sure that we provide the most value with our product. As I already mentioned, they can expect us to make our content more available even before they have a chance to try our tutoring services. And just in general, they can expect to hear from us in many ways, because we're, you know, really trying to be to kind of promote the online learning in general and language learning specifically.
My last question for you is, if you could have a conversation with the future you, let's say when you are 100 and you're sitting on your rocking chair, reflecting back on your life and what this has actually done in the lives of children globally, if you could have a conversation with the future 100-year-old you, what would you say to him?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would actually live that long. You know, the life expectancy is not that great for men, especially. I would hope definitely that, you know, at that age, I can tell you what I would hope. I would have to say when I was 100, I would hope that I would have to say that, you know, we made a difference in lives of millions of kids around the world, and really, you know, give them better chance for happier life. This would be my hope, that we can scale this to the levels that we can truly reach millions and millions of kids. And we're still, you know, in the very early stages of this path. You know, today's our students are still counted in hundreds of thousands. So we still have at least a couple orders of magnitude to go in terms of reaching out, because, you know, we're, you know, 7 billion people, you know, planet, and there's lots and lots of room to go. And I think we can reach to many, many kids, including underprivileged background. So I'm hoping that as we kind of mature as an organization, as we get, you know, more solid footing, we can actually turn more and more towards this aspect and really address more and more needs of those who, you know, badly need this little nudge to, you know, change the trajectory of their lives. Because, you know, for those kids who are underprivileged, for them, even like the slightest nudge makes a whole lot of difference. Whereas like for kids who are already well off, you know, maybe not so much.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for that. I do think that what you've created can revolutionize education globally, especially if those who don't get access do. So I think it's beautiful for you to hold on to that vision, because that would be a beautiful legacy for you to leave. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for this interview. Is there anything I should have asked you that I left out?
Good question. Andrew, can you think of anything?
Well, no, I think that we've just briefly we touched upon everything we do. I just, if you're really interested, about this impact that NovaKid makes on CSR base, I can provide you with more information, because some of our projects are still under development, and we hope to announce them during 2022 and later on. Yeah, but basically everything's covered. I think that's a good blitz.
Good.
Fantastic.
Right. I just have one idea here. What NovaKid has recently penetrated is new markets, embrace more kids from different countries. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit, Max. Could tell about the new markets in Malaysia, Indonesia, and India, China.
Sure. We can cover that briefly if that makes sense for you, Gertrude.
Sure. So which parts of Australasia you've covered now? If you can give me the list of countries, the new emerging countries.
Yeah, so we last year we started some, I would say, in earnest experiments in Asia, because up until then we were mostly focused on the Europe and Middle East regions, a little bit of Africa. We had some good traction, I would say, kind of in developed countries, which would be South Korea and Japan, but also some pretty promising development in developing world, which is Malaysia, Indonesia. And for this year, we're doing similar experiments in India, which is, you know, a very big ed tech market with lots of kids who need help, who need more help with education. Another country we're looking at is China, definitely, but obviously due to kind of legal regulations, still finding our way there. Yeah, it's a bit more challenging, but you know, it also a big up and coming market for us.
Okay. Yeah, China would be huge. We get a lot of Chinese students in New Zealand and Australia coming just for English. And if you could penetrate that market, I think that would be amazing. Awesome. No, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for all coming on board with your team. I hope I do this article justice. I'll pitch it and I'll keep you informed if it gets picked up. And once it's online, I will send you the links. And I would love to repurpose this video on a couple of other platforms that I have, if you don't mind, just to get the word out to other avenues where I think this content could bring a bit of traction to your business as well.
Absolutely.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Max. And thank you for the team. Thank you for putting this together.
Thank you.
All right.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
They have hit on an amazing idea, and especially now when so many parents are relying on online platforms.
Yeah.
That was fascinating to interview him. I'm going to share the link to their website at the bottom of the screen.
Thank you, Petra.
You might want to read out some of the
comments, yes.
Coming from our online audience.
Horal says, hi, Maxwell. I'm so glad to have you as a father figure to this amazing group of women. Amazing group of women, mighty women who are changing lives. Indeed, a successful life is simply an impactful life. You are creative and I am in love with your ideas. Not every kid is exposed to the world of technology. If I may add to your, let us help them know the love of God, which is unconditional love, the agape love. I think education is important because it is used to refine our God-given gifts and talents. We cannot be more than the information we have. Education gives you the opportunity to source information. I personally think the most important thing we need to focus on is how to discover our children's gifts and invest more in education in line with their gifts. As long as
looks like Ruth has frozen
We've
again.
lost you.
We've lost Ruth.
Something that I really wanted to commend Max about this wonderful initiative is the fact that we are all full of beautiful ideas, but when you see someone that takes action to help other people and to transform this idea into a global project initiative, is the impact is so huge and so powerful. It's incredible.
It's exciting to meet people like this who think really big and who think global and are playing a much, much, much bigger game. And
but the question, Gertrude, is, and why not? And why not think globally? Why not? Because we tend to have this mentality of, well, it's fantastic to reach out for your community, absolutely. But what if you could help your community and your neighbor's community and so on and so on? It cascades. It's just beautiful.
It definitely does. Well, you have a fan in Horal there. He said, I agree with you.
Thank you,
Horal. Oh, this is awesome. All right. So without further ado, we move on to our next speaker. Do you have Comfort's bio?
I don't think I do, Gertrude. Let me double check.
Okay. I think what we forgot to do is to give you access to the, what do you call it? The form, the schedule.
Yes.
So I'll just copy and paste so you can read it out, Manuel.
Thank you.
And I'll queue up the video while you do that. Oops, I keep putting it on the outside. I keep forgetting to put it in the private chat. Okay, there
Yeah,
we
it's all good.
go.
I think something has just popped up. Fantastic. Thank you, Hetra. So this is going to be our next guest. Is it his name? Is it him or is it her? Oh, it's a her.
Her.
Comfort Dando. Comfort Dando is a current PhD candidate with St. Mary's University. Her area of focus is leadership and policy development analysis. She is the founding executive director of Fumulani, an African Fumulani.
No, so you don't pronounce the H. It's an African word. You just say Pumulani. You don't pronounce the H.
Thank you. Pumulani.
A silent H.
It's a silent H. So my apologies. So Comfort, as I said, Comfort is the founding executive director of Pumulani, which is an African Women Against Violence. It is a culturally specific agency that serves African women in the diaspora. Our areas of focus is gender-based violence prevention and advocacy for policy changes to be more inclusive and equitable. First-time author of Facing the Giants, a self-help book and healing tool for women, I guess. I can't read it.
For women, yes.
Thank you very much.
There's a limit to how many words you can put in this chat, so it's a bit crazy.
Can't wait to meet
to use this as a training opportunity for you, Manuela. If you click on the video link I've put, you're going to share your screen and share the tab where that video is to play it.
So I just clicked on the link.
Yeah, and then go to share and share screen. And then go to the Chrome tab where that particular video is sitting. You're having a crash course here.
Sorry, Hetra. So what do I need to do now?
So share screen.
Share screen. I can only share the top option, which is perhaps it's because I'm doing it from my phone. So I can share the link.
Okay, all right, I'll do it.
Perhaps
I thought you were on your computer, so next time, make sure
I'll do
you're
it on my
on
computer.
Laptop. Yeah,
definitely.
All right, I'll share it from this end. And here we go.
We never stop learning, Hetra.
It's a learning curve. Welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Matcha here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman coming to us all the way from the United States. Welcome to our tribe once again. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Thank you so much. It's really good to be here. My name is Comfort Dando, and I am based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am a 38-year-old community leader, and I'm very happy to be on the show today. Thank you so much for having me.
So where does your story begin?
So my story begins, actually, I am born in Zimbabwe, right outside the outskirts of Harare, the capital city of Zimbabwe. But the township I was born in did not reflect the capital city at all. It was quite a modest, according to outsiders, probably impoverished part of Zimbabwe. But for me, growing up as a child, it was one of the richest places because of the sense of community. My story starts about age 9, when I was sexually abused by an uncle who lived with us. It was in that moment, at that young age, that I began to find ways to escape mentally. I withdrew. I began to find ways to escape at that young age, including planning how I would leave my environment. So I grew up just not wanting to be in my environment. In addition, around the same age, I also began to notice the domestic violence that was happening around my community. I also began to notice the height of the HIV pandemic in my area, with almost every other person I knew losing 2 or 3 members of the family. So my childhood is really where my story starts. So in my quest to move away from all the tragic and the pain, I found myself in the middle of a snowstorm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA at age 17 with a small suitcase and a big dream without even knowing how I was going to fulfill the dream. But I want to say, I always say I had a small suitcase and a big dream, but I also had a very big invisible knapsack. That was the trauma I had brought with me from Zimbabwe. And my journey begins here in the Minnesota in USA. As I started to find myself as a young woman with unhealed trauma. And that's where the real journey began for me. I met my first husband at age 21. He was a Minnesotan. And I began to attract what I call a vicious cycle of the very things I was trying to run away from. So I relived my childhood in my adulthood. And the only difference is that I now had small children involved with it. So I survived domestic violence, extreme systemic violence, from around 25 to about my mid-30s. I was literally in a vicious cycle of something that I would later learn was resulting from unhealed trauma. And this is what brings me to this platform today, the personal work, healing work I had to do when I posed and asked the question, why do I keep reliving the same cycle, no matter how hard I was trying to live that? And it was realizing in the moment when I realized, as I was writing my journal, which then turns into my first book called Facing the Giants, I realized that I needed to heal my childhood trauma. And I needed to go and collect the young girl I left in the small township in Harare, Zimbabwe, and bring her along with me to my adulthood and heal her. And that was the changing moment for me. So since then, I have started a movement, My Sister's Keeper, where we do discuss healing in culturally specific ways. I have also started a very successful nonprofit organization called Pumulani, Minnesota African Women Against Violence. And although it's based in Minnesota, it's actually a global outreaching nonprofit that really works with ending all forms of violence against women and girls, sexual violence, domestic violence, trafficking. And the core focus of our program, or the core focus of my work right now, is ending cycles of violence through helping even both perpetrators, survivors, and victims, helping them find their healing. Because I believe that ending violence is how we're going to heal. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you so much for having me and letting me share my story.
Your story is absolutely amazing, Comfort. And the interesting thing is, for a lot of women who have experienced sexual abuse, violence of any sort, they do end up repeating that cycle, that pattern, and attracting the same kind of person in their lives. Now, you've done a lot of work on yourself, and I'm sure you're now using what you've learned personally to help other women. What is it that a woman needs to be aware of so they don't get sucked into the same situation again?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gertrude. You know, one of the things I identified, one of the sayings I'm very well known for saying is, you cannot heal what you cannot reveal, or you cannot really heal something until you identify what it is. That's the first step. A lot of the women that I work with, they have not even identified the language of what's happening to them. So they just know that what's happening to them does not feel right. They know that there's a pattern Sometimes they're not even aware of the pattern. They just think it's a coincidence. So the first step for the women is reflect and identify, name things. And once you start naming things, you can start to take your power back. So here's an example. If you have two partners in a row who are emotionally abusive, that's really invisible, but you can feel it, that they're being abusive. The belittling, they're making you feel like you're not yourself. Name that. It is emotional abuse. Unless you name it, you will never be able to heal it, and you won't be able to prevent it. So that's the first step. The second step is never like disagree with your intuition. When your intuition is telling you that something is not right, then something is really not right. Do not be in isolation. A lot of abusers like to isolate. In isolation is where a lot of women end up, being abused severely for longer periods of time. I say always stay connected to your tribe of sisters, your truth sayers who can tell you that, these days you're not really being yourself, who can really give you honest feedback. These are the two main things that I really encourage, especially women and young women. When you start to feel like things are not, adding up, or I'm feeling like my spirit is being violated, to just name it, and then deal with that right away. And I say, do not wait. Do not contemplate leaving. It takes an average of about 7 times for any survivor of domestic violence to leave abuse, 7 times. So it's a very complex, vicious cycle. But I think the 7-time figure is something that can be avoided if you're surrounded by people who love you and who can encourage you to supporting you to leave. Because for a lot of women, they end up living in a cascade if they don't leave early enough. So those are my points that I would want to share with women.
So what would one do if you are not prepared financially, for example? You talked about women being isolated. A lot of time that isolation also goes into economic isolation. You end up finding yourself not working, at home, totally dependent on the man that you're with. And then you don't have the money to even leave, even if you wanted to. So what are the steps that one should put in place to be able to get the financial resources and leave? And even if you don't have the money, how do you find the organizations that can help you get out of that abusive situation?
Good question. I'll touch back a little bit on the isolation piece. A lot of the women that end up coming to our homes or who end up calling our crisis line have been living in isolation for an average of 5 to 10 years. That's the time they were living with their abuser. So this really makes it hard to plan. But when they do come in contact and maybe they're not ready to leave, we have what we call a safety plan, a safety exit plan. That you plan your exit quietly, putting everything in place, especially when there are children involved, and plan it in a way that the abuser never knows about your plans. Because this is the most dangerous time when women plan to leave, when women plan to exit. Normally they are not able to exit. Just for context sakes, here in Minneapolis last week, we're just doing a procession. We had 25 cars representing each woman who was killed in 2021. 25 women were killed due to domestic violence, homicide here in Minnesota. This is the USA, first world country, and those are just the documented number. By next year, we'll be knowing that there'll be additional numbers after the evidence is found. So this is what I always encourage women. As far as staying in touch, I always say keep those three friends that you can tell everything. Because what happens with abuse is that the abuser makes you feel like you're not worthy, and they make you feel like you cannot depend on anybody else. So what ends up happening is the victim survivors, they're normally even isolated from their own family. And then I also want to touch on the cultural aspects. I'll speak for my the African community, but this happens even in mainstream communities where there's a tendency to want to keep up appearances, right? You hear a lot of women saying, I was just trying to keep it together. They have to show up on social media looking like everything is dandy. And yet, they are really dying on the inside. So I want to say, really assess and see what is it that is very important to you. Is it to please everybody else on the outside world and be crying and being beat at behind closed doors? Some women also say they're staying for the children. This is a common one. I'm staying for the children. I heard this a lot growing up with my African sisters. But one thing we don't realize is that when children observe domestic violence, they are much impacted into their adulthood. So for you to break that cycle and make sure that your children are modeling and they're also seeing a positive and healthy relationship patterns, you may not want to keep it together for the children, because what you're keeping together is really a poison for the children. Domestic violence affects children from the time they're observing it up into their adulthood, which then creates that cycle in the next generation. Yeah.
You're very right. A lot of women do think that they are doing it for their families and they're trying to keep it together, but they do more damage than good.
Absolutely.
Now, you are involved with the Herstory movement. You are going to be one of our key partners in bringing the movement to the United States. I know that there are a lot of women in your networks who have amazing stories. What nuggets of wisdom would you give them in terms of coming onto our platform and presenting, and the benefits that they can get by being a part of sharing their story?
I am super delighted, looking forward to this year because of this partnership we're having, Gertrude. And I want to say I am the woman that I am today, who's able to use my pain for a platform and my purpose. I found my purpose in my pain. And I know that the Herstory platform is one such place. A lot of women have not had the chance or have not had the safe space to share their stories. And I really know that working with you, Herstory platform is going to be enable and coach and give permission to a lot of women and men, who have a story to share, who might have a very painful, hard to share story. I think it's a place where they're going to be able to not only share the story, but share it in an impactful manner, and then share it in a way that has a lot of more impact beyond their own circle. And then on top of that, I want to say I've been able to share my story in a way that actually creates for me. You're sharing your story, but you're also sharing your story and monetizing that part. So I'm really excited, and I'm hoping that as many people who have everybody has a story, as many people can join the platform. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think from my end, one of the things that I want women to be aware of is that our platform is not just a speaking platform. We will help with the publishing of your story in our Herstory magazine. You will get published in an anthology with 9 other women. So we have 10 women in every volume. And you get to own your story, no matter what it is that has happened in your life. By sharing it, you're going to be helping another woman who might be in a similar situation, not knowing how to get out. And then they read your book or they hear you speak on these international stages. Then that becomes a real game changer. So we're really excited that your community is going to be coming onto our platform, and we'll be working and collaborating with you in the United States to bring about some magic in women's lives, because we can change the world. And it's going to be one story at a time, one woman at a time, with each of us honoring all the experiences we've gone through. I mean, Comfort, when I look at you, where you came from, what you've gone through to be this amazing mentor, coach, helping and empowering other women is absolutely incredible. So we'll end the interview with one question. If you could go back to the younger you, that young woman who found herself in a cycle of domestic violence, abuse, and give her 3 nuggets of wisdom, what would you say to her? And I'm asking this so that if there is a young woman or even an older woman right now who's listening to us on this podcast, watching us on YouTube, and she's saying, what do I do? How do I get out of it? What 3 pieces of advice could you give her?
Absolutely. The first one is I would tell her that it's going to be okay. so that give yourself permission. It's going to be okay. That's the first one. The second nugget of wisdom I would give to any young woman listening under the sound of my voice is that the ultimate maker, your maker, already knows your path before you were born. And every single thing that happens to you, at you, within you, he already knows. And a lot of it, he allows to happen for a purpose. So find your purpose in your pain. The third thing is, please do not stay in your pain too much, lest it will drown you. Find your way up outside of the pain and try to use it as a platform. Step on it as a platform. The world is waiting for you to step on that platform and share that pain in a way that will be healing for others. This is what I would tell my younger self.
Absolutely inspiring. Thank you so much for coming online today and sharing your story with us. Inspiring women worldwide to step into their power, own their stories, and change their lives. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. The Herstory movement is going global. We have now got amazing partners like Comfort in the United States to bring it to the US. We're looking for more partners in the UK, in Europe. So wherever you are in the world, if you are inspired to be a part of this amazing movement, please get in touch. My email is at the bottom of the screen, admin@herstorycircle.com. And if you're in the US, Comfort, what website can people find you?
They can find me on www.pumulani.org, and Pumulani is spelled P like Paul, HUMULANI.org. And my full name is Comfort Dondo. I can also be found on Facebook. I'm on all social media platforms. So, and thank you so much for having me. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. Yeah.
Awesome to connect with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. We will
Thank you.
see you again when I come back with yet another amazing guest tomorrow. Have a fantastic day, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you, Comfort.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now.
Bye.
Okay. Wow. Such an inspiring morning we've had today. Fascinating speaker, so many amazing insights that she shared. I think the biggest thing I took away from Comfort's presentation was the line, find your purpose in your pain. It's interesting how when we are faced with challenges, we can't quite see the wood from the trees. We think things are just happening at us. There's no reason behind it. But the Creator will never let anything happen to you that isn't good for you. Find your purpose in your pain, or at least transmute that pain into something else and not hold on to it. I think that was the biggest message that she gave us. What was your take, Manuela? Unmute yourself. You're muted.
Of course I am. Thank you,
Famous last words of 2021. Unmute yourself.
My apologies. I found Comfort's presentation very, very inspiring, and absolutely her job is just incredibly amazing. The message that she shared with us when she was talking about the steps, two steps that she will share with us to help all these women in those abusive situations. The first one, she mentioned that you cannot heal what you cannot see. And I thought that is something so simple, but when we have the ability to simplify things so our message gets heard and understood, that's the beauty of it. And yes, you cannot heal what you cannot reveal. And her advice was to name it, to reflect on it, on your situation, to identify it. And the second one was never disagree with your intuition. You know, sometimes we have that feeling. We have that feeling that maybe something shouldn't be like this. Maybe I shouldn't be going through all this pain. Maybe something doesn't feel quite right, and most of the time, yes, it doesn't feel right because it's not right. So yes, I really appreciate her message with us today, which is incredibly powerful and beautiful. Sorry, Gertrude.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to play the last video for the day, and I'm going to love and leave you all in the beautiful hands of Manuela. I have to dash for a meeting. The next video was recorded for an organization based in the UK, and they are called 360, Awareness 360 rather. And Awareness 360, if you want to read the bio there, Manuela.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness 360.
Just scroll down.
There's nothing on the private chat, Gertrude.
It is. Just scroll up. You'll see it says, you girls
can 360.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So yes, so this is thank you very much. So we're going to be talking about this is an organization, Gertrude, called Awareness 360, correct?
Correct. They're based in the UK.
Fantastic. So Awareness 360, it is an award-winning global youth-led non-profit headquartered in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, that empowers young people in 25 plus countries to do community service projects in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. How beautiful is that? Pre-pandemic, over 150,000 people have been benefited through our projects. We take pride in being recognized by several international platforms, including Forbes, the Diana Award, Global Citizen, Global Changemakers, UNDP, UN Women, UNODC, Samsung Global, the US State Department, the Commonwealth Youth Program, and much more. That is pretty amazing, Gertrude.
It was amazing working with these kids, and they were so young, but so eager to learn, so open to the nuggets of wisdom, the knowledge that I was sharing. So I'll share that video, and then at the end, you can just summarize and say goodbye to everybody. But I will be on the road and with you in spirit, okay?
Thank you so much, Gertrude.
All right, here we go. Good evening, everybody. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. It gives me great pleasure to come back and share with you my experience in diversity and compassionate communication. And hopefully by sharing a few of my life experiences, I'll be able to transfer to you what has been my experience in this field. So, have you ever gone to a meeting that ended up in an argument where people were not getting on, messages were being missed, and it was a total disaster? This happens a lot, not just in the workplace, not just at school, but it can also happen in organizations or in families. And it happens when the team or the family are struggling to communicate with empathy. Hence, the communication is totally ineffective. So I want to talk a little bit about empathetic communication. So imagine if someone on your team fails to communicate because they have a stutter, or English is not their first language, or they do speak English, but a different type of English. So I am from Zimbabwe originally. I moved to New Zealand 21 years ago. Thought I knew how to speak English until I got to New Zealand. Now, the New Zealand Kiwi accent is very, very different from British English. And the most difficult thing for somebody who speaks English as a second language is when you're not able to lip read. And I didn't even know that I did this very intuitively. A lot of the way that I take in information when I'm talking to first English speakers is I look at their lips and I can make out the words by the way they move their mouths. Now, New Zealanders unfortunately speak very fast. They do not move their lips. And I felt like I had come into a country where people didn't speak English and they were actually speaking English. So although you might have studied in an English-speaking country and you think you understand the language, a lot of language is communicated not just by the words that are coming out of somebody's mouth, but the body language, the lips play a huge part in communication as well. So that was my experience when I got to New Zealand. It actually shocked me because I didn't expect that. So I managed to develop empathy at a very early age in life. I grew up in a country called Rhodesia, which was a British colony. And I went to an all-girls private school from the age of 6. Now, in Rhodesia at the time, we had an apartheid system where Black people and white people didn't mix, and English was not my first language. So I experienced apartheid from a very early age. My sister and I were the only 2 Black kids in every single school I went to, and the other kids in those schools did not like me. It was very isolating, very lonely. I didn't have any friends, and I really felt that I was different. I had the wrong skin color, everybody else was white, and I was totally not accepted in that environment as a child. Now, my parents went through a similar thing. My father got a scholarship to go to London to study to become a chartered accountant. So he took his young wife, my mother became a nurse, my dad became a chartered accountant. When they came back to Rhodesia, before Zimbabwe had independence, my dad could not get a white-collar job, despite having all of these qualifications from the UK. Nobody would employ him. So he had to work in a chicken slaughtering factory until Zimbabwe got independence almost 5 years later. So I managed to get my first job in a very unusual way. From the age of 16, my father would put me on the bus every single school holiday and send me to the city. And he will tell me to apply for jobs, but not take them. Now I'd say, Dad, why do I have to do that? And my dad would say, the corporate world is white. When you're going to look for that first job, you need to be confident. You need to stand up in front of white people and speak. That's how I got a job in IT. I became a COBOL programmer, and it shaped my career. But as I was rising through different organizations, I experienced, again, discrimination based on the fact that I was a woman, I was Black, and I was in the IT field, which was very, very male dominated. I remember getting a job in South Africa in Cape Town. I was a systems analyst at the time. I was a project manager. And my boss, before we had tea or coffee, if we were breaking during a meeting, would look to me and say, Gertrude, it's time for tea and coffee now. And what he actually was implying was that I had to go and make tea and coffee for everybody else. And it was mostly because the Black woman in South Africa was a domestic servant. She would be the cleaner in any organization. And he knew my qualifications. He knew that I wasn't the cleaner, but he still treated me like the help. And I turned it into a bit of a joke. If he did that, I would say, yes, Jack, I take my coffee black with 2 sugars, please. And I would cross my legs and expect him to go and get my coffee for me. And everybody would laugh. And I broke his cycle of victimization and abuse by making it funny and getting people to laugh at him. So sometimes you have to kill people with kindness when you find yourself getting the communication in a very aggressive way, abrasive way. And that's what I experienced when I worked in apartheid South Africa. I experienced this when I traveled, like normally when you're on an airplane, doesn't matter which country you're going to or coming from, there's very few Black people on the plane. And the way we are treated is completely different from other people of other skin tones. And you can feel it just through the body language. So body language, like I said earlier, is a very, very big part of communication. So what is empathy? Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. So it's not about how you feel. It's about understanding how the other people or the other person is feeling at that given time. And there's two types of empathy. There's affective empathy, which is emotional empathy. And this is inherent in all human beings. This is when we react to each other. If you see somebody who's crying, you give them a tissue and you comfort them. If you see somebody who's smiling, you smile back. Then there's cognitive empathy. And this is the perspective where you are taking the other's perspective, not yours. You're putting yourself in somebody else's shoes deliberately to try and see how it would feel if it was you. Now, sympathy focuses on your perspective, whereas empathy focuses on the other person's perspective. So whenever you catch yourself thinking, oh, I feel sorry for that person, you're being sympathetic, not empathetic. And it's very, very easy to stop yourself in your tracks when you feel yourself feeling sorry for somebody else. So here's a really good example. Saying, I'm sorry that you're sad. That is sympathy. Saying, I understand why you're sad and I'm here for you is empathy. There's a very big difference between those two statements. So empathy is not an opportunity to make the conversation about you. It's always about the other person and the other person's perspective. And you have to learn to communicate with others in a way that works best for them and not for you. It's always about the other. So for empathetic communication, you need to have a solid foundation. Just like if you are building a house, you need to draw the plans of that house before you start laying the bricks, before you put the roof. You need to have a solid foundation. And I'm going to give you a few tips on how to create that solid foundation. Things. In the Western world, it's the exact opposite. So is the person avoiding eye